by the water.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show. Look here, lifers are particular when it comes to having a cellmate, right? Now, I've never been like that, you know what I mean? But I do understand why, because most of the times my cellar's been, back in the day when I was in rotation, my cellar's was one of the guys or something like that, right? So, and I understand why, because, when you see somebody that you cellar's with somebody for 2, 3, 5 years, 7 years, and all this, and then they get out, and you know that you're not getting out. And if you are getting out, it won't be anytime soon. It hurts. It hurts. I'll never forget, man. I had a cellar man named Marcus, man. He's one of my best friends, man. And me and Marcus, we cellar for a long time, and then he got out. And when he got out, I walked him up to the gate to where they get ready to leave and all this and that. And man, I had to choke back tears, man. I had to choke back tears, and from that day on, I told myself that anytime a celly of mine that gets out that I done got cool with, I wasn't gonna walk up to the gate with him. I was gonna say my goodbyes the night before. When he get up the next day, I'm going to work. He can go do what he do and leave the penitentiary. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, man. It was just too much. It was too hard for me. But this story is about these two guys that were cellies for years together. They were cellies. I'm talking about 27 years. These guys were cellmates. Now, they had moved to different units and to different cells, but they always stayed together. And the unit managers that ran the compound, they made sure that these two guys stayed together. They lived together. They didn't work together, but they worked out together, lifted weights. They were on the softball team. They played basketball. Both of them, when they first came into the system, were phenomenal athletes. You know what I'm saying? And you get a lot of that in here, right? But age catches up with you. You get older, you're not as fast and all this and that. But these two guys have become not just friends, but brothers. They were so close that a lot of people thought they might be gay, but they were not. But they were that close to each other, where they would, if one of them had their dirty clothes in a bag, they would take the other person's bag without them asking and put them in the laundry rooms for the stuff to be washed. If one of them cooked a meal, they made sure that it was enough for the other. They were really brothers. If one didn't have commissary or something was wrong and money didn't get put on the books, it didn't matter. If one ate, both of them ate. Their families even became close like that. When they would go to visit together. And their families had developed that bond on the streets. When they looked out for each other, for holidays and stuff like that, they would get cards from each other's families and stuff like that. They were really brothers. They had gotten really, really close. But here's the thing. When you get that close to somebody in prison, you have to deal with all of the emotional ups and downs that they have as well. And sometimes, you fall out with your brother. You get mad with your brother. And in some situations, rare occasions, I hope for all of you, you might even fight your brother. But you're not going to try to hurt your brother. And that's what they would do. When they would get mad at each other, they would fight, but they wouldn't hit each other. They jack each other up and all this. You're going to quit playing with me and all this and that, right? That kind of stuff, right? But they never tried to hurt each other. So after all of these years, man, one of the guys, one of the lifers, he got sick. And they had to rush him out to the hospital. And they didn't understand what was going on with him. But his cellie noticed how he was starting to forget stuff and all this and that, right? And his memory wasn't as sharp. Because these two guys, they love to play Scrabble. They love to play some Scrabble. And the one guy that got sick, his memory just wasn't there anymore. He sat there sometime when they would play checkers, and he just sat there for extended periods of time just staring at the checker pieces, not realizing it was his time to move until his Celley said, "It's your move." And he noticed he had to say that over and over and over to him, and then he'd finally move. So when they rushed him out to the hospital, they were trying to find out what was wrong with him because he was throwing up. He was violently throwing up. And what had happened, he had drank some of the, he had this, it was something from the doctor that he had. And you're not supposed to drink it. You're supposed to put it on your skin. He had a rash or something like that. And he literally just turned up the bottle and drank it. And when he came, because he was in the hospital for 2 or 3 days because he was throwing up, sick. So when he came back, his Celley was talking to him and asking him, he said, "Bro, what's wrong? What happened? This and the third, right?" And now his memory would come and go. And he said, "Man," he said, "I thought that was my mouthwash." So his Celley looking at him, at first he laughed. He said, "Yo, mouthwash?" He said, "That ain't no mouthwash," because they still had the bottle on the shelf. Because it was his medicine for a rash that he would put on his skin. And his Celley not understanding, he looking, he said, "How can you mistake this for mouthwash?" He said, "Man, don't do that no more, man. You scared me." Now his Celley's thinking that, well, maybe he tried to take himself out, So he started to talk to him. He said, "Man, is everything okay?" And his Celley was telling him, the one that was sick, he said, "Yeah, I'm fine, man." He said, "It ain't like that at all, man. It ain't like that at all. I've been doing all these years. I'm going to keep doing them." You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So over the next course of the next days and weeks and months, his Celley started to notice that he was forgetting at nighttime, because when they went to sleep at night, they both, look here, they were so in sync. They were so in sync when they watched the same shows, and they would talk about the shows, and when the shows went off, they would turn the TVs off at the same time, and both of them would say, "I'll holler at you tomorrow, bro. I'll holler at you tomorrow too. I love you, man. Have a good night's sleep," blah, 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 this and that. They would both do that, and they had been doing this for over 20-something years. But now, the one that was sick, he would forget to leave his TV on. He would forget to get down and pray. He would forget to say good night, "I love you, bro." And it was like, at first it was messing with the other guy, the other lifer. It was messing with him because this is the routine. And so when he would say good night, bro, "I love you," the other one, the one that was sick, he would already had been done, laid down and turned his head toward the wall. So he didn't know how to take that. So he started feeling some type of way. It's like his feelings were hurt. His feelings were hurt. And he's like, "Man, what is going on with him?" So he started getting agitated with him, aggravated with him. But it was his brother. So behind his back, he went to the clinic. The one that wasn't sick, he went to the clinic and he talked to the doctor. He signed up as if he needed to go. So he was in there talking to the doctor about his brother. And he was telling him, he said, "Look, man, he's not acting right, man. He's not remembering stuff. He leaves the TV on, this and that." And at first, the doctor was like, "Well, he might be in a bad mood, and you have been locked up a long time." That was how they were playing it. Because the doctor, he hears this stuff all the time. He hears it all the time, and he knew that these two guys had been in the cell. Everybody knew these two guys had been in the cell with each other for a long time. So, at times they looked at it like, well, people are going to get aggravated with you. People might not want to talk to you. People might not say anything to you. So they didn't look at it as if it was a medical problem. But then something else happened. See, back in the day, we had these hot pots, right? Before they took them out, we had hot pots. We could heat up our food. We could heat up our food with these hot pots. And one day, he left the hot pot on. And when he left the hot pot on, it melted all the way down, and it caused smoke to be all throughout the building. Basically, he caught the cell on fire. Caught the cell on fire. So now everybody's like, wait a minute. And when the cellie that wasn't sick came back to the unit and he was talking to him, he said, what's going on, bro? And at this particular moment when he was talking to him, he was lucid. He understood what he said. Man, I forgot I left the pot on. So now he knows something is wrong. He accidentally drank some stuff for rashes, got him sick to the point where they had to take him to the hospital. He's been forgetting to cut his TV off and all of the things that have been a routine for him for 27 years. And now he forgets and he leaves the hot pot on and it catches fire. So he talks this over with his family. And when he calls his family and he tells them what his friend, his brother is doing, they talk to his family as well. And now all of them are talking and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And one of the people and the guy that was sick, one of the people in his family says, man, you know we have a history of dementia in our family. And when they all heard that, it started to make sense to his cellie. He was like, that makes sense. He's forgetting everything. And it made all of them just sad. Because it's like, what do you do with somebody like that has all of these years left to do in prison? What do you do? So his family printed some stuff off the internet. This was back in the day. They printed some stuff off the internet and sent it in to him. And they told him, the stuff had no relevance to somebody in prison. This was for somebody that was on the streets, living in their house, and their family having to learn to deal with it. It had no relevance to anybody in prison. How do you deal with somebody that's a cellmate of yours that's in prison that might have early onset dementia? No literature at all on that. None at all on that. So he was reading this, so he was trying to reapply, what they were saying to the circumstances that he was under. He looked at the cell like it was his house. Okay? So what he did, he started getting Post-it notes and he would post them on the mirror, on the door. He got, back then we had keys to the cell. He took his key and he put it on a shoestring and put it around his neck so he wouldn't forget it. Stuff like that. And at first he felt weird by it because he was like embarrassed. He didn't want anybody to know what was going on. But it was little notes to remind him to brush his teeth, things like that. Push the door up when you leave out of the cell, turn your TV off, things like that. And he had these Post-it notes all over the cell. Now here, let me tell you something. See, we're not allowed to do that in the penitentiary. We can't have Post-it notes all up around the room, remind you to do this, reminding you to do that. We can't have that. When they come around for inspection, the cells have to be clean. Everything has to be in order. They have a diagram of how our cells have to look when they come around and inspect. No pictures on the wall, none of that kind of stuff. So you got to clean up the cell and make sure everything's in order every time when you get in trouble, right? So one day, the brother that was writing the Post-it notes for him every day and putting them up in the room, he forgot to take them down. So when the warden and them came around and they were inspecting, they saw all of these Post-it notes all over the cell. And at first the warden was looking, he was pissed off. He's like, what is going on here? What in the world did you have going on here? And one of the wardens, the deputy warden, it was a woman. She was a very, very educated woman, but she was nurturing. When she corrected you, it was almost like, man, you wanted to buck her because she was the warden and it's us against them. But it was like she would say it to you in a way where it's like you tap out. And she handled people like that all the time. even her staff. So she said to the warden, she said, "Warden, I've been hearing about his Celley, and it seems that he might have early onset dementia. Now that I see all of these posters up, that might be true. He's trying to remind him every day to do this." So the warden is walking around the cell, and he sees a posted on the TV that says, "Don't forget to turn your TV off." Or posted by his hygiene saying, "Don't forget to brush your teeth. Don't forget to lock the door." All of this, and the warden sees it, and he just stops. Now, let me tell you something about inspections. Everybody is standing on the doors, right? But this is how they do it now. But back in the day, they didn't have you standing on the doors. You could be out at work or somewhere else, right? And so the warden, he'd go around and inspect whether you were there or not. After he inspected, he told the officer of the pod, he said, let the Celley, the one that wasn't sick, let him know that that's okay. He don't have to worry about taking those posters down every day. So when he came in from work, the one that's not sick, the officer said the warden inspected your cell today and saw all of those posters. So he immediately thought he was in trouble. He said, "No, but listen to me." This is what the officer told him. He said, the warden said, "Leave them posters up. He understands what's going on. And the warden even went a little step further and went to the clinic and checked. And now, they're not supposed to tell you health information, this and that, but they told him in their way. Yeah. They told him in their way. So they knew that this guy, he was deteriorating. And they became real concerned about him and his Celley. Because think about this. These guys have been Celleys for 27, going on 28 years now. And you can't be in a prison, y'all. Listen to me. This is hard for me to say, and I need you to understand this. Because when you come to prison young, you don't think that you're going to be old one day. We don't even think about that when we're on the streets. You're going to get old one day. All you got to do is keep living. Right? And you don't think when you come to prison for the nonsense that you're out there doing that you're going to get sick one day. And you might have something that they can't take away. But you don't think about that. And this brother has been cellmates with this man that he became brothers with for 27 years, and now he's watching him deteriorate mentally because he has dementia. So now they have to worry about both of them because they know this is going to be hard on him. It's going to be hard on him. So they're talking to him, trying to prepare him for the day that they're going to have to move his Celley out of that room and put him in the hospital wing so that he can be looked after by the nurses. And 6 months later, that date comes. And he's so far gone that he don't even remember who he is. He don't recognize his surroundings. And sometimes he will just stop when he'd be walking in the pod or on the compound. He would just stop and start crying because he's afraid. He's looking around. Where am I? What is going on? And he would cry. And everybody knew what was going on, so they would try to help him, to calm him down. So when they moved him into the hospital wing, every now and then, when his memory would pop back, he's asking for his Celley. And they would let his Celley go down there. But this was hard on his Celley because he couldn't stay. He couldn't stay down there. He couldn't stay down there with him because he had to go to work. He had to do other things. So the warden reassigned him. Said, you're going to work down there so you can see him every day. And he reassigned him to that area. And he was down there every day. But at the same time, it was taking its toll on him mentally because he had to go back to that cell. And when he got back to that cell, he missed his Celley. He had a new Celley now. He wouldn't even talk to him. He felt like if he talked to him, he was betraying his old Celley. He couldn't form that emotional bond that you have to have with somebody that's living in the same room with you, so you feel comfortable and you can close your eyes around. So he was agitated all the time. And then one day the call came in, told him to come to the clinic. He went to the clinic, and he said they told him walk to the. They wanted him to walk down to the hospital wing with them. When they get down there, his old Celley is dead. He passed away. And he broke down. He's crying. And can't nobody console him. Can't nobody console him. So he goes back to his cell. And now they're watching him. They gotta watch him. Because the one stable thing in his life, he's gone. His best friend, his brother, he's gone. And after that, he wasn't ever the same. He hardly talked to people. He wouldn't allow anybody to get close to him. He still had decades left to do. And he was so heartbroken that he wanted to do it on his own. He refused to allow himself to get close to anybody again. I understand it. I don't agree with it, but I understand. It hurt that bad, y'all. So that's another reason I wanted you to understand these stories that I'm telling. I need you to understand these stories that I'm telling, because when you come to prison and you stay alive, things are going to happen to you that you don't think are going to happen. You're going to get sick. You're going to make friends with somebody that's going to leave you one day, and you're not going to be able to do anything. And in this environment, it's hard to be that type of person. It's hard to open up to people. And when you do that and you get hurt like that, it's no better on the streets, but at least on the streets he could have found support. In here, it's hard to find. Just wanted to drop that one on you. It's been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Banks. Peace.